The best thing I always want people to know is if you don't love yourself yet, it's because you don't know yourself that well. And that's okay. But but you'll never regret getting to know yourself more. You'll never regret learning about how powerful you are and how that power shows up for you. Because it's different for everybody. And the more you know, the more you love. The more you know yourself, the more you love yourself.
Welcome back to Shine In and Out, the space where science meets soul. I'm your host, Sammy Stoltz, and this is the space where we explore how perception becomes biology, how identity becomes reality, and how small internal shifts can create lasting external change. Today's guest is Lynnsey Robinson. Lynnsey is a spiritual hypnotherapist and subconscious transformation expert whose work centers on something most people overlook. You don't change your life by trying harder. You change your life by changing what's happening in here, beneath the surface, the subconscious. She helps people uncover and rewire the subconscious patterns shaping their identity, behavior, and results so that change actually lasts. So, let's jump in. All right, Lynnsey, welcome to Shine In and Out.
I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Okay, so could we begin with your story? How did you get to where you are today?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, whenever I get asked this, the first point I like to start with is that I was always a weird kid. So I don't really know when it I don't know when it started. I just came out this way. As a preteen, I would show up to our local cemetery and try to feel into how they died by touching the tombstones. You know what I mean? Real weird. I just always loved, I was always really curious about human beings. What is that? What does that mean? And what is it beyond just flesh and blood? And as a kid, you translate that to ghosts and spirits and Ouija boards and spooky stuff. But as I got older, I translated it more into spirit, like the soul, the intuition, not spirit lowercase, spirit uppercase, if you know what I mean. Our spirit, yes. Consciousness and awakenings, and that kind of all came about through many things. But I grew up in a situation where my mom was very religious and my dad was very hippie. They are not together, if you can believe it. What a shocker. Not a good match, but he would walk around the house and say oh, I'm getting too old for this. This is my last life. I'm not doing this again. And then you have my mom who's carrying the Bible around the house and banishing demons from the corners. It was very different. It was wildly different atmospheres growing up. And so, of course, I had a lot of questions. But when I got introduced to the idea of hypnotherapy and pursuing the soul through hypnotherapy, it was when I was about 20. My sister gave me, let me borrow her book called Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. If you're not familiar with Michael Newton, Please make yourself acquainted. He is probably the reason I'm sitting here today. I give those books full credit, well, partial credit, because my kid and my husband also deserve credit as well. But a lot of credit goes to me opening that book because it clicked so many things into place. It answered so many questions that I didn't even know I had, and showed me what I was missing when it came to my curiosity. It just made sense. You know what I mean? You find something, you look into something, you discover something that just clicks for you and it just makes sense and everything else makes sense. And so, not surprising to anyone now, I had a huge awakening at that point and decided to move all the way across the country from my hometown in Michigan to Los Angeles because that's where Michael Newton taught hypnotherapy, and that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. So at 20 years old, by myself, I moved across the country, found some roommates on the internet, and it actually worked out.
Right.
But I did, yes, very, very crazy looking back, but I couldn't explain it other than to say, I just have to do it. I just had to do it. And I think we all kind of are familiar with that feeling. And I know now that was my intuition, girl, you cannot stay here. You have to go. This is where the next part of your life begins. And it did. And it took me 8 years from moving to California to actually study hypnotherapy, because I learned very quickly that it's expensive in Los Angeles and you need a job right away. So I kind of forgot about my dream. I put it on the back burner all the way up until I had my first son in 2012. And which is so funny because the 2012 Mayan calendar was the end of the way, as the end of the world as we knew it, and we kind of create a new astrological cycle from 2012. So it was just so interesting, the timing of it all. But I started studying hypnotherapy in 2012 after I had my son, because I realized I don't want to go back to work. I don't want to go to some silly job that I don't like and work ridiculous hours and not get to hang out with this cool little soul that just dropped into my lap from the spirit world. Like, what? Of course I'm going to want to hang out with them. Of course I'm going to do everything I can. So I said, what if this is the part that's important? I mean, one of them. I knew I wanted to hang out with my kid. I also knew I wanted to make money. How do I do that? And I had to ask myself at 27 years old, what do I want to do when I grow up? What do I want to be? Because I forgot about hypnotherapy. It had been 8 years. And I was living life. I was doing life. I was making one foot go in front of the other. And actually, like, it was not dream-based. It was priority-based. And so I heard in my head, what do I want to do when I grow up? Hypnotherapy. Remember that? Oh my God, that was so cool when you thought of that, when you decided you wanted to do this, remember? And I lit up for a second, and I remembered how it felt to, like, get excited about something. And oh my gosh, I do remember what that feels like. And then the other voice, we all know this voice. It's the voice of responsibility, logic, reason. And it was like, lady, are you nuts? You got to make money. You have a kid now. You have to do the responsible thing. There's so many reasons this is a bad idea. What if you don't even do a good job and you fail or whatever, all those things. But mainly the fear was, or the limit was, you have to be responsible. You're a mom. You're a mom. You have to have stable money coming in. So go figure it out, which usually means don't do anything that's fun. Do something that's not fun, because that means money and paying the bills. And so my shoulders slumped and my energy dimmed, and I was like, yeah, you're probably right. I should go look into it, getting a regular job, whatever. Going back to the office that I was just working at. And then another voice came in that said, it was so quiet too. It was like, but why not? But why can't you? And I said, that's a good question, self. Why can't I? Because anyone who's ever done anything cool had to start right here at this fork in the road, where they either decide to take a very unsure step forward, a ridiculous step forward. And I already knew what that felt like, because I just moved across the country less than a decade ago. I know what it feels like to do something that sounds stupid on the surface, but is actually the way your soul wants you to go. So I recognized it on some level. And I just made a call and found a school, not the Michael Newton school, but a school closer to me, and ended up going for a tour the next day. They had just started the new semester. The day that I called them, they had just started a new semester. So when I went to the tour, they said, oh, we just started a new semester yesterday, so we could just get you in at this semester. You would have just missed the first day, whatever. Like, the chance, come on. And I know this is true, and they weren't just trying to sell me, which, sometimes you never know, because I ended up working at the school after I graduated, and I know the entire schedule of when the semester starts. So it was just perfect timing. Wow. So I show up, I do the tour, I call my husband from the tour, and I'm like, hey, instead of getting a job and making money, can I take out a student loan and put us in debt instead? And he's like, oh, do you really want to do this? And I said, I really do want to do this. And he goes, then you have to do it. We'll figure it out. My husband is the best. And
what a champ.
So I did. And here we are. But this is the coolest part of the story that I always want to talk about, because, it's just so cool. So as I mentioned, I started working at the school after I graduated, and I looked at my name in the database. One of these days, they're going to hear that I did this. I don't know if they'll care, but I worked there, so I could look up anyone in the database. So I looked at my own name, and I saw my student records, and I wanted to see what they said about me, because we can take notes in their file. I was like, what they say when I was a student. I was just like, ridiculous power that I had. I shouldn't have done this. But I was doing research. Okay. I needed to know what they said about me. So I looked up my name, and I had 2 accounts, 2 student files, one for my LA address, the one that was current, my student/employee file. And then I had one from 2005 when I lived in Michigan. So they had my old phone number, my old address. The notes in that file said, filled out a distance application, tried to follow up with her, no answer 3 times. So I have no memory of doing this, but what I think happened is when I first got the Michael Newton book and I was all high on like the vibes and like hypnotherapy, I must have looked into this school, which is again not the Michael Newton Institute. So I must have just done a bunch of research on a bunch of different schools, or at least those 2. And filled out the application, did all the things, and then just got scared, right? As we always do, because we're not ready, and they call you and they're ready to talk about it. And you're like, no, I'm not ready. So that for me, I'm the kind of person that needs signs, big signs. I need it to be blatant and clear so that I can't rationalize it. That for me, I will never second guess where I'm supposed to be. Like that for me is I am in the right place, and I was always in the right place at the right time, in the right timing, which, you don't know till afterwards. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's easy to think to yourself, oh, I wish I started earlier, like I was on the path and then I talked myself out of it. But there's always some lessons in the in-between, like you might not have met your husband, all of these things that were meant to happen to make you who you were, and that moment when your soul was like, just a reminder. Like I call it a tug on my soul when I have that, like I know it won't stop, so I'm just gonna do it. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
That is incredible.
And I think it's important for me to keep coming back to this story, because I still to this day need reminders that like your soul's always talking to you. It's always talking to you. Your intuition's always talking to you. And it's okay that you're not sure. It's okay that you have doubts. It's okay that you feel limited, but it doesn't mean you have to always be limited. You could listen. It's a fork in the road, right? It always is. You could either listen to the limits, or you could try something new and exciting and scary as hell.
It is scary. I mean, society has kind of painted like financial security as the most important thing. And it is, especially from a nervous system standpoint. You don't want to be always in that fight or flight state, like, am I going to be able to buy dinner and pay bills? So it is a really hard decision to make oftentimes. Yes. And it's also, some people do it, they're working their 9 to 5 and then they do a 5 to 9 and then they're burning themselves out. And it's just, sometimes you have to take that leap and trust. And I think maybe because it was the second time and you knew your soul wasn't going to give up on that, it was like, all right, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah. And I also think this is why I say, like, I credit the book, my husband, and my son, because I would love to sit here and say like, oh, I finally felt ready and I finally wanted to do something for me and all this stuff. But I promise you, my son is one of the main reasons I did it. I don't know that I would have given myself permission to follow my dream or just get stuck in another 9 to 5. It took a reason big enough to want to change. You know what I mean? And I'm not a perfect person. It wasn't just for me. It was definitely so I could hang out with my baby. It definitely was. And I think I like to think of my son just like in spirit being like, all right, I'm coming down there, lady. And when I get down there, you better start following that dream.
You better be ready.
You better be ready, because here it comes. And it was perfect, like it all happened the way it was supposed to. And I think when we sit back and evaluate these moments, we can all agree that, it does happen the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. I also think to myself, especially you had your son on your mind, what would I want him to do when he grew up? Like, do the safe thing and be kind of miserable, or go for what he was clearly passionate about, even though it was scary. And unequivocally, it's that I would want to teach him that it's okay to go for it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's just all the things. And at the time it was purely just like, I don't want to miss a thing, which is funny because the fact that I had to take a year of training while he was a baby, I think I started when he was like 7 months old or something, like really little. I missed his first steps because I was in class.
Oh.
So I didn't get to, so it's ironic. And it's the same kind of irony that business owners have. It's like, I want to start my own business to have more time. And then you end up working yourself like 12-hour day, way more than you ever would in a regular job. It's just a nonstop. But that's all
at least
about,
you're passionate.
Yes, at least you feel like you're doing something. And I luckily my husband got it on video, and I don't think he knew what he was recording, but he didn't know what he was about to record. So again, it was perfect. But like, and then I had 2 more, so I got to see all their first steps. So it was fine.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, so it's just, it is interesting. I just think that it's important to not lose sight of like, if nothing changed in 5 years and everything was exactly the same, how would I feel? And that's usually a really good gauge to know, like, am I on the right course, or do I need to change up some stuff and really think about some stuff? And how you feel about the answer to that question says so much, you know?
You know, I talk to some people, some clients, some friends, and they're all about, they don't feel like they can love themselves because then they'll stop progressing. But I have come to understand that my life right now, I love myself, I love my life, but it doesn't mean that I'm satisfied with where I am. Yeah. I have so many goals for my own growth, for my business growth, for the impact that I want to have on the world. So trying to make that distinction, like, you can love yourself now and want more.
Okay, yes. And because I was in the same boat, and I always said, like, well, I feel like if I am satisfied, or if I even say that I'm content right now, then that means I'm done. No, that's not what it means. It just means that you're first of all, we're never done. You're never done. You can't be done. You might as well enjoy the journey. You cannot be done until you're, gone. And I would also say loving yourself, or even being content in where you are now and enjoying the journey, is necessary in order for you to call in more of that.
Yeah.
How are you going to do it if you hate it? If you hate it, it's going to say, okay, she doesn't like this. Let's give her something way different. Let's change it up. And it may not be the direction you want it to go. If you are making progress, hold on to the gratitude for the progress you've made, because then you will make more and more and more, and just make bigger steps toward the thing that you want. And I would definitely say love is a better magnet than hate or dislike.
100%. But you and I, as we discussed a little earlier, we are very output based. So
yes,
I have people in my corner all the time telling me, like, okay, but like, take a minute and enjoy the things that you've done before you jump into the next thing. That, I'm still working on it. Have you made any progress on that front?
I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer that. Yes, and never done. Always a work in progress. I think the biggest thing for me, as you said, output based, the biggest thing for me was I can't relax until I've done this weird tangible amount of work, or it's the carrot and the stick. I'm constantly chasing the carrot. And the problem with that is
never going to be over.
There's no end. There's no end to the carrot. There will always be another stinking carrot. So you really have to, dare I say, love yourself enough to stop, realize that there's no rush to do any of this. There's no rush to do any of this. It can all be postponed. It can all be changed. It can all be flipped. It can all be deleted if you want. Like, there's nothing that's that pressing that should affect your mental health or your well-being that much. So for me, it's just been like, is this really that important? And usually the answer is no. Go sit down. Go enjoy something, and go read a book. I'm so proud of myself, if I may. I'm going to talk about something to be grateful for. So I have a hard time, lately especially, I've been having a harder time sitting and not doing, right? I have to be doing something. And if I'm doing one thing, then I have to be doing 2 things. And if I'm doing 2 things, why not just throw in a third? Like, it's crazy. So today I knew that I had work this morning until about 1 o'clock, and then I had family come over, and then they left. And then I had a good 3 hours to kill before this podcast. And normally I would just busy my mind with something, but you know what I did instead? I finished a book that I've been wanting to finish, and I actually sat with it, and I didn't rush it. I didn't skim it. I actually read it, and I was in the book, and it was perfect. And I'm very proud of myself because that's
you.
rare for me. And it's baby steps, but it's something. Go enjoy a book.
It's funny. We're in the same like part of our progress. I've gotten way back into reading and taking that time, and just like honestly choosing a time, because like you said, the work is never going to be over. There's always going to be something that I could be doing. Yeah. I try not to say should be anymore.
Yes,
so
yes.
I just kind of make a cutoff time and love myself enough to keep to it. But
to keep to it,
it is a huge difference though between the fear-driven work, which is kind of how I used to be, like, oh, I have to do this or else this. Now it's like passion-driven. It's like, I'm so excited about getting this project out into the world. And so it feels urgent. And my mom always reminds me, she's like, what are you doing? Like, it's not urgent. I'm like, okay, but I'm excited.
Okay, but I'm excited.
But what a great thing to be this excited.
Well, exactly. I mean, it is definitely a gift. And I always say we live in very unprecedented times for so many obvious reasons. But one of the less obvious reasons is we have never been more connected and isolated at the exact same time ever. We've never been more connected and isolated.
I gave a presentation on that.
Did you really? I'm not surprised. We are connected, you and I.
Beautifully
and
said.
Isolated at the same time. But it is interesting because we have the entire world at our fingertips. The entire world. You want any information, you can get it faster than we ever could. So on one hand, it's like, how lucky. You could do anything you wanted because you have all the knowledge. The only, like, for centuries, for generations, we are the first generation in our known history as women who could literally do anything we want. Because before we had the right to do it, or I guess after we had the right to do it, it then was a matter of like, well, do I even know how? Can I get the knowledge?
And
Can
stigma.
I get training? And the stigma. Now it's like, the world is at your fingertips. What the heck are you going to do with it? That's paralyzing for some people. It can be like decision paralysis. Yeah. What the heck am I supposed to do?
The more options you have,
the more options you have. Exactly. And some might take it to mean like, well, if I could do anything, I must do something profound. No, not everybody has to do that. Taking care of yourself is profound. Taking care of your family is profound. Having a homestead or having a hobby is profound, especially in 2026. Taking time for your hobby, you're a superhero. Come on.
That's so
you,
true.
Rich? I'm just kidding.
Rich in love.
No, but you know what I'm saying though. It's like we've never been so lucky and so fortunate, and it's also can be like, oh, well, what do I do with that? Like, oh my gosh, like so many decisions. There might be a lot of pressure to make the correct decision, and I'm gonna give you a hack. I'm gonna give you a cheat to all the listeners. Ready? Here's the hack. What do you want to do? What feels good? What feels exciting? What feels joyful? What feels creative? What feels like play? And that is the direction to go in. Every single time. Every time. That's the direction.
And that voice that comes directly after the feeling of joy, like that little, negating voice, that's the only time not to listen to it. Like when you have this overwhelming amount of joy and excitement about something, and then that crash, it's because of your logical mind. But like, intuition wise, it's hard to distinguish from a definite no, like don't go in there, something feels off. You know? How do you distinguish?
Well, you have to. Some people are really good at this. Some people need a little practice, but honestly, you will know, because an expansive fear versus a contracting fear. An expansive fear is like becoming a parent, moving across the country, starting a new job, anything profound and big, and is the right decision, or it's going to open the next chapter of your life. A contracting fear, we all know what that feels like. It feels like, like contract, like you are contracting. It feels like anxious. It feels like touching a hot stove. So everybody has really different levels of that. And also, if it feels joyful, just try it out. Who cares? No one has the rules. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're all making it up. Go do something fun.
Yeah, I think
the perfectionists of the world really just, I wish I could talk to my younger self and everyone else that struggles with this, that the only way to get good at something is to start and be bad at it first. And if you expect to be bad at something, it's freeing.
Yes.
I'm not going to be good at piano. I'm trying to teach myself piano. There's no way I'm going to be good at it immediately. It's going to take forever. And that's okay. That's part of the journey.
I heard someone say once, the only reason it feels hard is because it's new. Yeah. And I've never really forgotten that. I love that so much. The only reason it feels hard is because it's new. It's new. That's it. You know how many hard things you've learned just because you've practiced them? You know how many things you know how to do, listener, that most people don't know how to do? Because you practiced. That's it. It's just not new anymore. But for someone else, they might look at that and be like, how the heck do you do that? That makes no sense. But yeah, speaking of logical mind, I would love to explain how the subconscious works, if I may, because I think it would shed a lot of light on what the heck is going on here. So if everybody can just, I do this too, like even on my own podcast, I talk to the collective. I imagine that there's just a group of people listening. So when I say you, I'm usually talking to me and listener. So, so sorry if it sounds weird, but if you could just imagine your mind as a circle, right? We know that the mind and the brain are different, and the mind is the more intangible metaphysical thing, but let's just go with it. Your mind is a circle. When you're born, the only thing that babies are born with are the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. That is built into our DNA. It is instinctual. We also have the fight or flight response, the lizard brain, as some might call it, which is triggered by the fear of loud noises or the fear of falling. That is it. That is it. That's it. That's all you're born with. So if you have a fear that is not the fear of loud noises or the fear of falling, guess what? It was learned. And guess what else? It can be unlearned. Can you unlearn the fear of loud noises? Maybe. But because it's so ingrained in us, why would you want to? Who cares? Anyway, so as the baby grows up, it starts to get more experiences. It starts to observe things. It gathers information like a sponge. It does not have the ability to discern. It doesn't have the ability to distinguish fact from fiction or something real versus something fake. It has no idea. It just takes everything in as true because it has nothing to go against it. As it gets to be about 7 to 9, average, we'll say like around 8 years old, 8 to 10 or whatever, it gets what's called in the mind. You get a critical filter, which acts as the go-between between the newly formed conscious and the subconscious. Now, again, as you're growing up, you develop all these knowns, these truths, these facts about you that you know are true. So like, I love chocolate. I don't like broccoli. I love my birthday, but I don't like my sister's birthday because I don't get presents, that sort of thing. I love getting gifts. I don't like getting in trouble. These things that are true about you, I'm going to call them knowns. These knowns, these truths. Okay. So once you get about 8 to 10, you get that critical filter, that critical mind, which now separates the conscious from the subconscious. That holds all those truths. That's what the subconscious is for. It's also for holding anything else that you don't have to think about, meaning your breathing, your blinking, digestion, riding a bike as you get older, driving, writing, speech, that sort of thing. That all lives in the subconscious. And that all makes up about 97% of your mind. Everything that you don't have to think about is about 97% of your mind, including those truths, those innate knee-jerk reactions, those emotions, those feelings, those limiting beliefs. They all live in there because they are true for you. Is it true necessarily? Maybe not, but it's true for you, and your subconscious has taken it as a truth. Now, in the conscious mind, 3 to 5% of your mind, we have the logic, reasoning, decision-making, willpower, analytical skills, and that discernment. So now you have the ability to decide, is that green or is that blue? Do I believe what this person's telling me, or are they a liar? That sort of thing. When you have a thought, a beautiful, inspired idea or goal that pops right into the conscious mind, that's where it starts. You get all excited. You get those happy feelings. It checks in with the critical filter. It's like the bouncer at a club with a clipboard, okay? Just picture it. So this new goal is like, hey, am I on the list? Can I get into that subconscious and become a truth so that it happens? And it checks the clipboard. And if there's anything on that clipboard that goes against that goal, it's going to kick the thought right back out, which is why which is what happened to me when I decided, oh my God, hypnotherapy, that's so exciting. I'm so excited to do this. Wait a second. You have to be responsible. You're a mom now. You can't do that. What are you thinking? Those are what's on the clipboard. Those are the knowns. Those are the truths that I had grown up with up until that point. Now, I'm not saying they're all going to be an easy decision of like, do I want to believe this or do I want to do something different? Some of these decisions are, but some of them are so deep into the subconscious that you just can't. It's like chopping down a tree vertically, I like to say. If you do this with willpower alone, just willpower, if you try to change a subconscious belief consciously, you're chopping down a tree vertically. Sure, you might get there eventually, but you'll be a sweaty mess and you'll be crying and throwing up because of all the exertion. So what I'm trying to say is, well, with a tool that works with the subconscious, like meditation, affirmations, journaling, hypnotherapy, it's a shortcut. You're going straight to the source, especially with hypnotherapy, because it is basically bespoke. It is very personalized to the person, to the client, and you have someone there to facilitate, to assist you. You take their goal, their desire, their belief, you create a pathway through that critical filter, which is essentially gaining access to the subconscious mind. We tip the bouncer $100, okay? We tip the bouncer. We get into the subconscious.
I know a guy.
Well, yeah, I know a guy. I know all the guys. We start creating these new shiny knowns, new truths in your subconscious that actually reflect where you're going versus where you have been, and who you actually want to be versus who you are necessarily at the moment. So it's all beautiful, relaxing, fast, very effective, and really fun for me and the client. But that's why you get excited and you get derailed really fast, because it's just your subconscious trying to keep you alive based on what it knows has kept you alive thus far. Happy, that's extra. Who cares? Joyful, fulfilled, satisfied, no one cares. Alive, that's its job. Yeah. If you want all the other stuff, you have to teach your subconscious that that's what will keep you alive. You have to teach your subconscious that that's safe, which sounds very simple because it is simple.
Same with your nervous system.
Easy. Absolutely, yes. And guess where the nervous system lives? Subconscious.
So my only experience with hypnotherapy was, I want to say, sophomore year of high school, when they told me I'd have to give a speech at the end of the year. And they told me on syllabus day, the first day of the year. And I had a panic attack every single day thinking about that speech, that I was like, I can't live like this. So I found a hypnotherapist. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try this. And to an extent, it really did change the belief from, not even the belief, but the focus. It changed the focus from, oh God, to, I'm going to feel so good when I'm done. And that got me through so many things. So I understand what you're saying. Like, it's so much faster than trying to painstakingly change a habit. And that's, you know what? Beautiful. I've been talking about this a lot, because if you change your mind about something, and by mind, I mean your subconscious, if you change your true belief about something, you don't have to do all the work to change the habits and have the willpower and do the things. If you change who you believe you are, I am a person that gets up at 5 a.m. and does these things, instead of that little voice being like, actually, no, you're not. Or actually, you can't make that money. Like, that's why manifestation doesn't work for some people, because of the subconscious. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. And most manifestation work is conscious work. So yeah, I would definitely agree. I want to say two things. Number one, you've been manifesting perfectly your whole life. Everybody has, because you are 100% successful at manifesting the exact life that your subconscious believes is true for you. So you have 100% success rate. Now, what happens if you decide to teach your subconscious something outside the box, something new, something on the next level? So you've already been doing it, and you are exactly perfectly the person that your subconscious believes is the best version of you. All that it is a matter of like, what if I could teach my subconscious something different? What if I could teach my subconscious that an extra 100K a year is not only natural, but inevitable? Reality has bent around you your whole life to fit the narrative that your subconscious believes. It is that powerful. You are that powerful. You always have been. always. So like you just didn't know it, and now you know it. So what are you going to do about it? You know what I mean? Like it becomes like, now you know that all you have to do is get your subconscious on board. Sign me up. Where do I go? What do I do? Let's do it.
Feels
Let's do
too
it yesterday.
Brilliant.
Because it's always been true, and it always will be true. Your subconscious, if you want anything, you have to get your subconscious on board, or it's never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It goes against your biology. It really does. So but you get to decide what that is. You know, you get to decide what you teach it, and it is receptive. You know.
So what does a session look like for you? You do an intake, I'm assuming, because you said it was very personalized.
It is, yeah. So when I first meet the client, we do a free Zoom call where I'll just, talk to them about what they expect and what they're hoping for out of hypnotherapy, what their journey has been so far. And then, we usually set up a schedule, and the first session is usually the conditioning session. So it's usually a harder hypnosis. And I say harder because we go real deep, real fast. It's the establishing session. So we establish the depth so that we don't need to do it in subsequent sessions. But, first 30 minutes is the intake. How are you feeling? What are you hoping for? What do you want to work on? And then we do the hypnosis in the last session, the last half of the session. Yeah, 15, 20 minutes of hypnosis, 6 weeks. I do 6, 9, and 12 weeks. 6 is the shortest amount I'll offer. But 6 weeks compared to how many years you've been dealing with the block is pretty good, in my opinion. And to be fair, sometimes people do need more. I'll say a lot of people don't even pick the 6 because they just want as many as possible to make sure that we get as much done as possible, which is fair. I respect that. I also, in the first session, will do handwriting analysis. I love diving into someone's handwriting. It's become a really cool thing I like to do. A hobby, I guess. Yeah.
You want to look at mine right now?
I would love to look at yours right now. Yes, please. Should we do a little crash course?
I'm so interested. I will say my handwriting goes from like really nice to really messy. Like I'll start a notebook and it's super pretty. And then, let me get you some more examples. How about that?
Okay, I got it. Holy smokes, lady. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
You're like, oh my God, you're brain dead.
Is this going to be in the show? Because we could do this on the show if you want.
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay.
I'm just giving you some.
I'm also 40, so I need to move my phone back a little bit.
I cannot believe you're 40. When you said you had a kid that was 14, I was like, shut up.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I'm very much 40, and I had bad eyes when I was 20, so it's only getting worse these days. I'll tell you. So I will. You want me to just get started? I'll just start.
Yeah. Feel free to tell me anything. Don't hold back.
These are notes. So it's a little bit different. There are some things I can see from notes, but when I usually ask for a handwriting sample, it's a blank sheet of paper, and I want you to write it in like a journal form. So like, here's what I'm hoping to get out of hypnotherapy, da, 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 da. But there's still a lot I can get from here.
Well, actually, one of the pictures that I sent you was a journal entry.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right. Here we go. Oh, yes, I see now. It's exactly the same. It looks exactly the same.
Well,
okay,
when I'm like flowing,
back.
When I'm flowing, I just,
You just go.
I just go.
All right. I would
nice.
love to see no lined paper, but even still, because you can tell like optimism versus pessimism. You can tell whether you're more forward thinking or stuck in the past. You can tell how private of a person you are if it's on blank sheet of paper. And how comfortable you are invading others' privacy, but not in a bad way. More of like, do you like to ask questions? This shows me, just this sample right here shows me that you do love to invade people's privacy. But I also know that because, no, but not in a bad way. In a way of like, I'm the same way. You ask questions because you want to know about people.
Yeah, and I want to help.
Sometimes maybe personal questions. It's not uncommon to see coaches, therapists, podcast hosts asking these questions. So it's not uncommon to see that margin very, very small. I'm looking at this, by the way. If you can see This margin here, how you go straight to the edge of the paper, that's your ability to go forward with other people's privacy. But this margin is how private of a person you are, which I can't tell because you're sticking with the margin on the paper. So
well, that's interesting because I just started on a blank one, and I left.
The same
thing. It's the same thing, or is it the opposite?
Well, I don't know. I can't see it.
I'll send you.
It's all blurry. So okay. So while you send me that, I want to go. I really want to talk about the threading that you do with the letters. You start a word and you don't lift the pen off the paper until the word is done. So threading happens a lot when people are thinking faster than their pen can move. So it's just showing up as one line. Like if you were to take one end of the sentence and the other and pull it, it would all be one line because it's all one. You haven't lifted the pen. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same way. Okay. By the way, when I'm doing a handwriting sample, I never really read it because I like to see what jumps out first. And that's the first thing that jumped out. I also really, I always want to talk about T's, lowercase T's especially. I don't want to call you out. Can I just say it? It's not bad. Yeah. I mean, it's the same problem I had.
My journey is trying to be open and honest and authentic here. Okay. So let's just do it. Sell me out.
Let me explain the T and then I'll get into what it means. So the same with all handwriting. We all learn the same way to write letters when we're kids, right? We all learn the exact same way. Somehow, some way, our personality always comes out in the handwriting. Yeah. So everyone's handwriting is like a fingerprint. It's very unique to you. Even you can try to like mimic your parents' handwriting or your friend's handwriting, and it will always look different because it is yours and it is your personality. And so when I learned that this was actually a thing that people use and know that it's a thing and it's not just weird woo-woo stuff, this is actually real, then I took it a little more seriously. Because at first I was like, I don't want to learn this. What do you mean? This is so weird and stupid. But it's not. It's actually very cool and very important. Anyway, so the T. We all know that you make a stick up and down for the stem, and you cross the T near the top half of the stem, right? So like a cross, like a crucifix or whatever. That is a lowercase t. We all know what it's supposed to look like. If I'm going to say it this way. The stem is supposed to represent your self-esteem, so like how tall you stand within yourself, and where you cross it is your confidence line, so how confident you feel, and that's like the measuring stick, okay? When I tell you that when I learned about this, I looked down at my own handwriting, and my T's were plus signs.
Mine look a little bit like plus signs.
That's why I said I don't want to call you out. I don't know how you're feeling, but and it's funny because in the same way that our handwriting reflects our personality, if we changed our handwriting, would it reflect in our personality? So that's the first thing I changed because it's free. Why not? Yeah. Do it. Who cares? Start changing your T's. And, it's just a habit to make tall T's. So anyone listening, look down at your lowercase T's. You might want to make them a little taller because even if you don't feel super tall in that T right now, just writing it out. If your handwriting reflects your personality reflects in your handwriting. It's a dual relationship. So if you change one, then maybe the other one can change. And it's
I'm definitely gonna get some high T feedback coming at you.
Yes.
I'll let you know.
Yes, please. I really, and anyone listening, that's just one thing you can do. And that's really probably the most important thing that I learned from handwriting.
I definitely struggle with I love myself, but I don't necessarily because I don't have anyone else's perspective, I can't tell if my ideas are actually good or if I just think they're good. And I think that's what holds me back from saying a lot of the things that maybe I should be saying. And that's probably why I'm at the plus sign right now.
So. Well, we could therapize that or we could move on. It's up to you.
What feels right? What feels right?
Because my follow-up question would be, who cares if anyone thinks they're good? Why? Who cares?
Well, publish them anyway. I guess. Yeah, I guess.
Because what's the worst thing that could happen? Let's say you put out an idea and everyone hated it. What are they going to do? Are they going to call you the worst person on the planet and you're terrible and don't ever speak again? Or are they probably just going to ignore you?
Yeah. And that's fine.
And then what's worse?
Exactly. Anytime I give a speech or something like that, I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, like, I've got my people that love me. Like, if people misinterpret everything I say, henceforth, I've still got the people that know who I truly am. So, like,
yeah. And the chances are, like, by the way,
that's logical.
I'm speaking to myself like I'm speaking to you too, because I also have this, I have a little bit of this where it's like, I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I'm just not going to,
I don't know what that was.
Wait a minute. This is Riverside.
Yeah.
Is this Riverside? That's not supposed to happen on Riverside. Don't edit this out because I'm just going to explain what happened. So we're on Riverside, which is just a video platform for podcasting. And you know how when you're on FaceTime or you're on like even Facebook Messenger or something, you'll have like balloons come up, or when you do a thumbs up, it'll do like a thumbs up. What she just had on her screen was a bunch of balloons, virtual balloons flying through the sky. But that is not a Riverside feature as far as I know. So I have no idea what just happened. I've never seen that. What the heck? Spirit, come on. Come on, Spirit. I think what Spirit's trying to say is you should celebrate yourself no matter what. And what you just said about you having that nucleus of support and you having those people who really know you and really get you is the most important thing. And you're never going to please everybody. So you might as well just talk to the people that will understand what you're saying. Yeah. And I also am saying that to myself because I need to work on that too.
All of these things I know fully on a logical level, but there is a subconscious level that from my youth, like I have to be perfect to be loved. Any of those agreements that I made with myself to stay safe, to keep going on, clearly would benefit from hypnotherapy in that aspect because I have been working really hard to change that dialogue, but I'm probably trying to chop a tree vertically.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. And again, there's nothing wrong. It just takes longer. That's all. But like, what is the dialogue? When you say you're trying to change the dialogue, what is the dialogue? Say it in a sentence.
Okay. I guess it's kind of like imposter syndrome. Like anytime even if I just read a scientific article and gleaned it all properly, I would hesitate to recite what I learned to you on the off chance that one of the things that I said was slightly off base and then I misled you. I think because I grew up around my brother, who, love him to death, he could spin a story and not give a crap whether or not it was real and be fully confident.
Sounds like my brother. It actually sounds a lot like my brother.
And I'm like the exact opposite. Like, if I'm not absolutely sure, I'm not going to say it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's like, maybe I don't want to mislead people, or maybe I don't want to seem incompetent. I don't know. It's curious.
It's just a feeling that you have of like, oh, I shouldn't say this because who knows who's going to.
It's like, what if I lead them wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But do you believe you're leading them wrong, or are you afraid of like actually being wrong, or are you afraid of someone just thinking that you're wrong? Because you read the scientific article, you don't think you're wrong.
Well, here's the thing. There was this one time.
Okay, so now we're getting to an actual cause. Here we go. Causation. Let's go.
It's hilarious, but it stuck. So I was on the phone with my brother, and I like made a joke about that quote, "The only certainties in life are death and taxes." And I said to him, well, you know, the only certainties in life are death, taxes, and laundry. And he was repeating that to people as if it were the original quote. And like later, somebody called him out on it. And I was like, I don't want to be the source of information, the source of misinformation that somebody gets traced back to later. Like, oh, but Sammy said on her podcast that this is real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why, this is maybe why I love to say, like, nobody knows anything, for sure. Not
That's
really.
True. We can't, and that's why I love science.
Yeah, but even still, we're discovering new science every day. You can't even
and we're debunking everything that we thought was real. I know, but people like, I think it's the societal perspective of science is like, it's empirical, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
Reading these articles, these people have like an N of 1 or didn't cover for all the variables, and it's like kind of absurd to even take it with a grain of salt, but people see it as be all end all because they trust that. But the beauty of it is we could have a theory and 100 years from now figure out it's wrong, and we've been living our lives based on it this entire time. Like the whole eggs are bad cholesterol. Okay, just eat the whites. Okay, no, you can eat the yolk. Going back and forth on just simple things like that. Think about how back and forth we could go on everything in the universe. So I very much agree with you. I think in that case, it's, I know that I don't know, but I'm afraid that somebody's going to assume that I do know because I'm a scientist and I will be misleading them. Does that make sense? Like, I almost want to give a disclaimer at all times.
I mean, there's people do that.
But then it's discrediting myself because I want to be confident and I do want people to listen. So if I'm like, I don't know, don't listen to me on this one, but I think
that's not a disclaimer.
You know what I mean?
That's just disregarding everything you say. A disclaimer would be like, do your own research, but this is what I found, and I think it's pretty cool.
I like
perfect. That. Done. The end. And what if, let's say, for every post you put out that's brilliant and A+, gold star, people are changed, the world is different, everybody loves what you're putting out. There's always going to be one person that just wants to fight and that wants to disagree and wants to actually you, and delete them, block them.
You know, it's crazy. I know. And I really
so many times on this podcast, I've said who cares more than I've ever said who cares in my entire life. Because who cares?
I love it. It's like the F it attitude. Like
a little bit, yeah.
But genuinely, like, they're like comments and stuff. Like, I don't even look unless it's like, I mean, I look every once in a while because sometimes people are nice and I want to answer them. But there was this one comment on one video that was like, somebody was talking about my beauty mark here, and he was like, he said something like, in broken English, like, I at first thought that there was something on the camera, and then I realized that you have to live with that forever. I'm so sorry. And I was like, what? Like, it's a part of me, and it's like,
you see this?
It makes me who I am.
Yeah.
And if I wanted it removed, I could have it removed. So clearly I'm not suffering. But it's just so, like, it's so funny that people...
That's a weird thing to say. Guys, please don't say that to people on the internet. Like, come on.
That's
really?
Just weird.
It's so
and
weird.
It didn't offend me at all. I was kind of like...
That was so weird of you. But yeah, I used to be really weird about this. I have a closed eye. It looks like a closed eye on my forehead, like a closed third eye. It's just a line.
That's so interesting.
There's a little bit of a story behind that as well.
What does it mean?
Fact that I will talk about it if you want to, but I want to say first, the weirdest comment I ever got, like, just off the wall. On my podcast, High Vibin' It, we post videos to our YouTube channel that just go as like reels or whatever, YouTube shorts, I don't know. And we had this nutritionist on the show, and he was talking about this really cool thing about our bodies and health and what we can substitute and just really good stuff. And some silly troll under the video goes, these two lesbians probably just did Ozempic anyway and didn't even listen. I'm like, first of all, what about me gives off lesbian vibes? And by the way, why is that your go-to insult? That's the best compliment you could have ever given me. What? Why is that your go-to insult?
That's so true. You're like, okay, so I'm fit. Thanks.
So thank you. Anyway, and
that
I was
is
like,
so funny. The amount of times that people have thought that I was a lesbian too is uncanny.
Why do they think that's something to say or insult you with? Like, I was like, this is the weirdest thing anyone's ever said to me, because that is what you think of when you think, oh, I'm really gonna stick it to him now. I'm gonna call him a lesbian. Like, it's so weird. Yeah.
That's so
stupid.
Funny.
But you just kind of have.
I'm glad you get a kick out of that, because that is absurd.
Yeah. And by the way, like,
who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Ozempic. That's just so weird. What he doesn't know is I'm basically a pocket person. I'm 4'11" and 98 pounds. Like, Ozempic would probably kill me. I don't know. I can't. I just can't. But anyway, there's always going to be losers. There's always going to be people. There's always going to be silly little humans who just, or maybe not even, maybe they're bots. We don't know. Again, we don't know.
That's true. That's true.
I will make a deal with you.
We got to talk about.
You and I will. We will.
Stuff. Yeah.
You and I will both make a deal that we will only talk to the people that know, like, and love us. Know, like, and what is it? Know, like, and trust us. There we go. And when that just means when you're putting stuff out, just imagine they're the only ones listening. They're the people that really get it. Because you can't control where it goes, but you can control what you want and what you want to believe. Yeah. So I'm only going to talk to the people that like me and that agree with me, and that maybe not agree with me. They don't have to agree with me, but they have to get
or open to what I have to say.
Yes, I would say that. Yes. I don't always want people to agree with me.
Otherwise, just freaking keep scrolling. Like, I'm here to help, and if you don't want help, it's so funny.
Exactly.
I think they don't get enough action in their daily life.
I needed to hear this just as much as you did, because I've been toying around with this idea for a while as well. Like, just this year especially, I feel like I'm on the cusp of a next level something, and so there's always a lot of junk to pull out. There's always a lot of stock taking and attic clearing and basement clearing. So I've been doing a lot of that, and that's one of the things that shows up is like, why post if people are just going to be mad about it? Like, no one would ever post anything. You know how many stupid opinions there are out there? Might as well add a good one to it.
I thought of that too. I was like, some of these people are out there spewing misinformation with full confidence, and people are just trusting that. And I'm like, well, at least I can spew real information and hopefully help some people. Like, might as well.
Yeah. And you're always doing better than you think you are. Always.
That's true too. That's true.
But yeah, do you want to hear about my scar? So,
I do.
Okay. I may have built it up too much. It's not really, I think it's cool, but okay. So I got this scar when I was 5. I've always had it. My mom said we had to leave the park, and I didn't want to leave the park. And I said, one more time, I want to go down the curly slide one more time. She's like, okay, hurry. And I took that as run as fast as you can up the metal stairs. That's a big no-no in my head. And I went like, when you hit your head, especially your skull, you don't really, it doesn't feel, I don't know. It just felt like I bumped my head, and I touched it, and it was like covered in blood. And I was like,
it's very,
and I like immediately lost my mind, and I was like screaming, and I was like, I'm going to die. My mom was like, you're not going to die. We're going to take you to the hospital and get you some stitches. It's fine. So anyway, when I had stitches, I grew up with 4 brothers. Okay. And 3 of them were older. And so when I had the stitches, they called me Frankenstein. And when I got the stitches out, I was Scarface, and henceforth known as Scarface in my family. Whatever. I don't care. I'm over it. No, but so anyway, I always had bangs because I was always super self-conscious about it. Obviously. Geez, guys. But as I got older, I just stopped caring, really. So aside from the looks of it, my dad has always been very psychic. My dad is a very psychic man. He's also a hermit. He also has he's a big empath, and he doesn't take it well.
Oh, so I'm role model hermit. Is that what you're talking about?
Wait,
like the archetype
6'2", human design. That's me. What do you mean? That's me.
So
I'm
funny.
a 6'2".
So we're both manifesting generator role model hermit. That's why we get along so well.
When's your birthday? This is so weird. When's your birthday?
May 25th.
Okay. April 15th. So that would have been real weird. That would have been really weird. Anyway, so both of us are manifesting generators, role model hermit. But I do take on the hermit sometimes. Like, I do be needing some alone time. But he's more like he says when he goes into crowds, he can feel everybody's or hear everybody's thoughts. And so he just doesn't. He was born in the 50s. They don't really have a word for it. We do, but his generation's like, I'm just anxious and weird. Like that's kind of how he's accepted it. But
we're highly sensitive. Highly
sensitive. He's definitely.
I have
But
the
he
same problem.
always would,
Not specifically their thoughts, but I feel what they're feeling.
yeah.
Like
Oh, same.
I'll go to the vet to take my cat for a checkup, and I will be crying in the waiting room because there's people that are like, I can feel
Yeah.
it, you know?
Yeah. I can't really be in crowded places for too long. It's something I'm working on. I think we're all a work in progress, but for the longest time, like I always told him I want to be psychic like you as a kid, you know, and he's like, no, you don't, because you can't close that door once it's open. And so I always kind of had a fear, and now I have a closed eye on my forehead, right? So so then when I was doing my hypnotherapy training, and this is actually true, we would go in and out of trance constantly because we were you know, being practiced on and practicing on people, and so we would have to do these in and out trances and states, and so it was a very hypnotic time for it to be. It was very intense. And so one of the journeys was facilitated by the instructor, and it was to meet your council of elders, right? Your spirit guide, your council, right? You know the council of elders, right?
Yeah.
Or you can get on board with it. It's like anyway, so we go into state, and I'm trying my best and getting to the place I need to be, and I feel like either a curtain or like feathers brush across my forehead. Physically feel it. And I open my eyes because I'm like, who the heck's walking by me? We have to be like going into trance. This is so distracting. And I open my eyes to see who it is that did that to me. And everybody's just sitting down and doing their thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, what the heck just happened? And I felt in my body like, okay, you're good. Your eyes open now. And ever since that weekend, ever since that certification, I have been able to physically see, well, with my eyes anyway, blue orbs, yellow sparks, and one time I'm positive I saw a death portal. Can I tell that story? This is so weird. Can I tell that story? So
what is a death portal?
I'm gonna tell you. Well, I just say death portal. I'll explain, and maybe you have a better name for it. But it was right after we did this, and I was still like, once it was activated, I was seeing them everywhere, like everywhere. It's kind of toned down now, and I know when I see them, like what they mean, and like I can feel into it better. But at the time, it was just like bam, 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 and I had no idea what was going on. Right after this happened, I was in class. We were learning about habit control, I believe, with our instructor, and he was next to this is in hypnotherapy training, and he was at the whiteboard doing some kind of depth diagram. I don't know what he was doing. But next to him, I saw like about an inch, a square inch, almost like a little mirror doing this. So it was like reflecting off the surface of the whiteboard. And I'm like, I turned to my friend. I was like, do you see that? She's like, what? I was like, there's like a mirror reflecting. And it was right about hip or like rib cage height to him where he was, like on the whiteboard, like right next to him. And I was like, well, that's weird. I've never seen one of those before because I'd been seeing blue orbs and yellow sparks, right? I don't know what that means. And so that was a Friday. And the weekend happened, and we get to class on Monday. And that teacher had passed away over the weekend. Whoa. He was fishing and fell over his boat and like had a heart attack and drowned or whatever. Not good. And so I immediately was like, don't you ever show me that. I don't want to see that ever again. I do not want to see that. Don't show me that. I never want to see that again. So in my translation, in my head, I've kind of connected that to be like this, maybe a spirit portal is a better way to say it. So like maybe like it was like opening for him because it was ready for him. Ugh, so weird.
Okay. It's crazy that you say this because when I was young, I was like exceptionally, like my mom said I would be like talking to nobody that was there, and I like knew stuff. And when she told me that stuff and I was like aware enough to know that that was scary, I shut it off.
Yeah.
I fully like, and I still to this day have a little bit of fear around it. Like, well, what am I capable of? Like, it's scary. And
oh, girl, we're capable of so much.
I know. And now I've started being more open to it. My uncle just passed away, and I knew it. I was like, Mom was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm looking for Uncle Guido's email. I emailed him, and I just like, I don't think he's gotten back to me, and I don't know, something feels off. And 2 days later, she called me and told me the news. It was just like, the weirdest, like, you know, you feel something is off. Or I texted my ex about his stepdad. I was like, something, like right before I was going to bed said, this person in specific that I've only met 1 or 2 times in my life is going to snap. And he texted me like 2 days later, unfortunately, you were right. We had a really big incident. He's in the hospital, things like that. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm glad I said something, but also like, what?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is uncanny.
Yeah, it is. It is. It definitely is. And it's just one of the more I learn about just us as people and humans, the more I believe in magic. It's like the more I figure out like, oh, people really do have these gifts. I think we all do to some extent. It's just society really did a number on us, all of us, every single one. They somehow made us believe it was a good idea to be cut off from nature, to work ridiculous amount for someone else.
Be on your butt all day.
To be on your butt all day, to, you know, make as much money as and consume as much as possible, to buy as much as possible. And we all think it's fine and it's great. Meanwhile, you are a literal magic star beam psychic witch angel walking around that has so many untapped powers because you just someone told you it was scary or someone told you it was bad, and so you're like, okay. Like,
well, not only that, but our nervous systems are so overactivated that, like, when you're in that state of fight or flight, you don't have space for creativity. And I'm actually writing a book about that.
You cannot thrive if you are in survival. You cannot thrive.
Yes, you can't survive and thrive at the same time. I'm writing a book called The Age of Acceleration, and it's basically all about how our biology evolves a lot more slowly than our technology does, and how the heck do we bridge that gap and maintain a healthy lifestyle? You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Because people just go with it. And it's like, just so you know, our bodies weren't built to do this.
Yeah. And it's hindering. Yeah. Imagine, like, I don't think it's an accident. I think it's all on purpose. They don't want us to know. They don't want us to experiment with our gifts and our just natural abilities as humans.
You're easier to control if you know less. And
I also just saw recently that your spine, the reason you're supposed to sit straight in meditation is your spine is a direct antenna. Like when you sit like that, your spine goes right to the universe, to the spirit, to all of it. And it's just like a direct line. So whenever I'm meditating now, I'm like, make sure you have the antenna ready to go.
Hard as it is.
Yeah, it's hard. Oh, it's so hard. I'm not a straight sitter. It's a practice. You know, I'm a hunter.
I have an episode on posture if you want to listen to it. I'm a hunter too, because I got boobs early and I like wasn't comfortable with that, so I like purposefully like rounded my shoulders so that my shirts would like.
I still haven't got mine.
We'll see. Who cares? So I would just like to hear, because you've had this whole journey of trying to understand humanhood and the body, the soul, what we're doing here, what all of this is. How would you define the spirit, the soul? How would you define it?
No easy questions, huh? Let's see.
Hey.
How do you define a soul?
I know.
I guess
I spend every day like pondering these things.
Yeah. And you know, I don't know, guys. Okay, if you have a different belief, it's fine. But I do believe that we are drops in the ocean, meaning we are of the ocean, if you can follow me in this metaphor. We all have a bit of source energy in us. And what we have in our human bodies is a teeny tiny little fraction of that. And it is assigned to us. It is our connection to spirit. It is also our guidance system. It is also our protector. It is our joy and happiness. And another piece to this is I also believe that we have a bigger piece of our soul up there too, as like an anchor, I guess, or a beacon or a lighthouse. So we
can with the sea. Yeah, we're sticking
I don't know.
With the sea
I don't know
metaphor.
what's up with that. I don't think I've ever said so many nautical references in my life. But yeah, I think that the human soul is a percentage of our entire soul. And when if I may, if we were to incarnate as a different being, we would take a different percentage of that same signature or that same soul with us. Different blueprints,
like a different fraction.
Different blueprints take a different amount of soul energy. So like a ladybug doesn't take the same amount of soul energy.
You're never truly the same once. You're never truly the same more than once, even though it's like you're a part of. Interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
You know how I think of it?
Interesting.
I think of it like, okay, the currency of the universe is energy. Everything is energy. This desk is energy. It just seems like it's solid because the particles are so close together. So if everything is energy, but matter is tightly packed energy, the body is like a connection to the energy. Yeah. But because we have a body, we had to force it to compress. And that takes us away from the highest version of ourselves, which isn't condemned to ego or illness or, all of these very human things. But the soul wants these human lessons because if you have nothing to learn, what's it all about? So I think the human body gives the soul a vessel to learn with, and the soul gives the human body a spark to live with.
That's beautiful. 100%. 100% agree. Yes. And they say that Earth is the hardest school. So we didn't come here to play around. We came here to learn some stuff quickly. Yeah. We came here for all the lessons. So congratulations, everyone. We're in the advanced. We're an AP human.
I can't think of who it was. I'd love to give due credit, but it's like the train station theory where it's like you're supposed to imagine that all of your souls are like up at this train station, like getting ready to be put into bodies, and you're talking to each other and you're like, hey, I really need to work on this. Can you, like, I really need to work on whatever it is. And then it's like, you're like, I need, this is an extreme example, I need somebody to hit me with their car, get me in a big accident, and I need to get through this trial to learn the lesson I need to learn. And they're like, okay, I guess, can you do this for me, make my life hard and teach me this lesson? So it's kind of like, if you see the lessons as like, that's my soul asking for growth.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's beautiful. And there's this book makes me cry every time. It's a children's book. And it's called The Little Soul and the Sun. The Little Soul and the Sun. And so I'm going to just break it down so quick because the little souls look like kids in white robes, but we know that they're just like young souls. Okay. And he's like, God, why, how can I be separate from you and also perfect and like important and all these things? Because they're in the spirit world, right? And God is like, well, you are perfect because you're a part of me, kind of thing. And if you're just one candle on the sun, one candle on the sun, but we need all the candles to light the sun, kind of thing. And he's like, but how do I know? It gets to a point where the little soul is like, what if I want to experience something different? Because here in spirit, everything's perfect. And I want to experience more things. Like, and then God is like, what do you want to experience? He's like, I don't know. What's out there? And so one of the things is forgiveness. He's like, oh, that sounds great. I want to learn forgiveness.
Yes.
But how do I learn forgiveness? How do I do this? You need to go to Earth and someone has to go with you to teach you forgiveness. And he's like, but who's going to come with me? And this is the most beautiful part. This little soul steps forward and she's like, I'll go with you because I love you so much. I will come down and do something so horrible to you that you will be able to learn to forgive. And it's just like, and it's just so beautiful. And it's like,
that's beautiful.
Why would you do this? And it's like, but, and as she's speaking, as this soul is speaking, she's putting on this, like the imagery is beautiful. She's putting on this like dark black storm cloud of a cloak. And it's just like lightning and storm and cloud. And she's like, but I'm going to disguise myself so much that I might forget who I am, and you have to remind me who I am. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's so nice of you to do for me. I promise I won't let you forget who you are. We're going to do this together. And then it's just like, we don't ever find out what happens, but that part right
beautiful.
There makes you kind of, it makes you look at everyone who's ever cut you off on the freeway, everyone who's ever broken your heart or hurt you in any way, hopefully a little differently, because that's the intention. It's like, what if we could look at this through a soul agreement versus, oh, this thing happened to me, so this person sucks. Because that's very, of course it does. Of course your human self isn't going to enjoy this, but it's bigger than that. And I choose to feel better about the fact that it's bigger than that. If my soul knew better, could I trust that? Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And it's gotten me through some stuff, let me tell you.
Yeah. I think especially like we were talking about the society, like it really builds up some gunk, and it takes a lot to remember who you are at your core.
Yes.
That, I think, is the soul. Get rid of all of the fear-based stuff, the ego-based stuff. It's unconditional love.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
I think, you know, people write it in different ways. Every religion has a different teaching, but that is the consensus. Unconditional love. I love that. That's a beautiful story.
I love that. I know. Oh.
Wow. So you did something really cool today. You defined the soul.
I tried. I mean, it's undefinable, but I tried to give him a vision. You did a good job too. I liked your definition. Really. I really do.
Thank you. Well, that's the thing. Like, where does science meet the soul? I think it's all, we were taught that they have to be completely separate. Like, if you believe in spiritual things, you can't be a scientist. And if you're if you're spiritual, you renounce science. Not at all. I'm using science as a vehicle to understand. Like, oh, I wrote an article today. You'll like this, because you were talking about us all being drops in the ocean. I have this like systems view of the earth and our biology. So like your body is working all day, all night, doing everything to keep you healthy and well. Every little cell is important. Every little thing has its job. And there is no one more important than the other, because it would all fall apart if not everybody was doing their job. So then I saw it as like, okay, that's cells, that's tissues, that's organs, that's the whole system. Then you move out from the body. We are cells of our own, of this ecosystem, this greater ecosystem of the earth. So we each have a purpose. We each, just because it doesn't look alike doesn't mean it's any less important, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's just like another level of the same thing, but it's like an
and then you zoom out further and you realize
law of nature.
Yeah. And you realize that every planet in our solar system is perfectly placed. And if one of them goes weird, it's all going, it's like a house of cards that it's a house of cards on top of a house of cards on top of a house of cards. And it all works perfectly.
And the probability of that is wild.
Yeah.
The probability that we are here right now is like so unfathomable.
You know what I mean?
Like,
it's magic. We have to believe in magic.
For the world to exist, period. But then for our ancestors to have done every single thing that they did and had the babies that they had to have us. Like, what? That's crazy. And we're all like,
now you want to listen, do you want to keep me on this podcast for another hour? Because now we're talking about ancestors. I have so much to say. We have to. You can't do this to me.
Well, I'm gonna pee really bad, so maybe we need an episode 2.
Oh, I think we do. Conversations with Sam and Lynn's.
I'm gonna write that down. Episode 2, ancestors, and a lot else, because I didn't even ask.
I know. I looked at that paper and I was like, there's no way we're getting through all this. I know how much I can talk. There's no way we're getting through all this.
We didn't get through any of it.
But it was all perfect. Because we talked about the subconscious. We gave empowering messaging. We did a little therapy on ourselves.
And I was authentic and vulnerable in public.
Yes.
And that's what I want to do. Like, even if it's scary, if I'm fully myself and I'm still loved, it will make other people feel safe to be fully themselves and know that they
Yes.
will be loved. And that matters so much more than any comment about being a lesbian.
Yeah. I hope they call us lesbians. I want someone else to call me a lesbian.
We are very compatible.
We are very compatible. That is very true. Yes.
Like, definitely on a soulmate level for sure. So,
yeah.
Whatever you want to call that. All right. So, do you have a take-home message? Like, what? Just give yourself a minute too. What comes through as like the person listening really needs to hear this right now?
Oh. The best thing I always want people to know is if you don't love yourself yet, it's because you don't know yourself that well. And that's okay. But
I love that.
But you'll never regret getting to know yourself more. You'll never regret learning about how powerful you are and how that power shows up for you, because it's different for everybody. And the more you know, the more you love. The more you know yourself, the more you love yourself. And wherever you are on your journey, just be there and celebrate the small and big wins. And yeah, just keep swimming, babes.
To know and to understand. I feel like understanding is a prerequisite to love. If you don't understand yourself and how things got to where they are, if you're just sitting in judgment without understanding, that's pretty hard to make progress. And I say that all the time too. Like, if anybody decides they want to hate me, it's because they hate whatever the version of me is in their head.
Oh, you're just
not me.
And you know, the thing that annoys you about people the most is usually something that's annoying about yourself that you don't want to face. So it's just
and so now I see it as like a oof. Yeah, that's another topic too.
Oh, God.
How we can use our greatest annoyances to become better versions of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this was so fun. Thank you, Lynnsey. We're gonna have to have probably a series.
I'm here for it. I'll do it. I don't care. I love it. You know, the one thing people tell me is like, you just seem so passionate. And I do. And I hope I do. Because if I'm excited about something, I won't shut up about it. And you'll hear me talk about it a lot. So I am here for all these conversations.
That is wonderful. I can't wait for more.
Thank you so much for being here today, Lynnsey, and sharing your wisdom. If something in this conversation resonated with you, let it land, not just intellectually, but in your body. Because the goal isn't just more information, it's a different relationship with yourself. You're not broken. You just got some patterns, and patterns can change. So, until next time, stay grounded, stay aware, and keep shining.